Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We are on to our second match of the night of the Challengers League, bringing you guys 404 versus Relic Maine. If you want to see a replay of the battle earlier from tonight, Reddit versus Heavy Turret, that will be up on our YouTube channel shortly after this broadcast is over. Please feel free to follow our Twitch channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our Twitter account. All the info is down below in the description. Every little bit helps. That being said, we're going to be getting right into the action here in about 10 seconds. I'm looking forward to this. It's the first time we've casted either of these two teams so far this season. Relic Maine, obviously a powerhouse clan that's been around for a very long time. 404 is the subclan of R7. That being said, they are a very competent group of tankers. So, I think this could turn into a very good series here.
You gonna
Does
introduce me, or are you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna get to it. You only left us a minute, so Anyways, what I was gonna say is this does have potential to be a kind of a one-sided match, but we will have to see. Um, so I'm Rockstar. Alongside me doing your camera work is Spanish, as always. So there you go, Spanish. There's your intro.
Thank you. I want credit where credit is due.
Yeah. So
There's no splash screen up, so I deserve the credit.
Yeah, so if you guys don't like your camera work, blame Spanish. All right, that being said, into our first battle here. 404 bring in 3 E100s, 2 IS7s, a 210 E5, 2 Bat Chats, 3 Object 140s, a Object 263, a Gun Conquer, and a 261. So 404 going with double Artie, which to me says they're going to try to slow play the hell out of this thing. They're going to park and turtle and make Relic attack them and burn them down, and they're just going to try to get off as much damage with that artillery as they can. On the other side, with Relic, bring in double IS7, double T110, double Bat Chat, 5 Object 140s, double STB, and an Object 261 of their own. So, a lot of people watching are going to be fairly familiar with Relic Maine. They've been around for a very long time. They've had their ups and their downs, but the overall player quality of their clan is always very high. As I say that, the Bat Chat for 404 getting caught out here, taking 2 shots of damage from the Russian mediums pushing up the forest here. Relic's going with a very strong forest push. They're going to leave some tanks up north here just to hold the north and take away that from 404, and then they're going to use all this medium force with a majority of their tanks to take away the whole field side. So what I'm expecting to happen here is I'm expecting these heavy tanks from Relic to push down the 4-5 line, get into these houses underneath the hill, light all that stuff. The mediums and the artillery are going to shoot from a distance and keep that stuff pinned back there, and they're going to put a tank or two on the back corner of cap and bait the tanks to 404 out. 404 doesn't have many tanks in a position to light cap right now. They have tanks that could push, but they don't currently have eyes on the cap. And these mediums are going to push up along this kilo line for Relic, and they're going to get up here to this road, to this little hold down, and they're going to be able to light a good bit of that kilo line along the red line on the bottom. And the rest of the guns are going to look to punish those. That 261 is probably going to have fire some shots here pretty soon. Looks like he just had a shot land short on these E100s. It's a tricky shot landing an arty shell on the backside of a hill like that. You have to actually kind of aim past the tanks to get those shells to land when you're artillery. If you aim directly at them, because of the arc, there's a good chance that it'll land short and hit that hill like that shot did there. So, I don't know if their arty player is a regular arty player, or if he knew that if he did get that shot through, if it would hit the side of the turret pretty easily and pin. I'm not really sure what he was going for there, but missed by a good bit. So that being said, the IS-7s, like I predicted, are moving up into this 3 line. These IS-7s are just bait for 404 right now. The Relic's fine with just leaving them there. They're not there to do damage. They're just there to light a majority of these tanks. Meanwhile, Relic have put an Object 140 on the cap, and 404 don't have anything to go get lights or reset right now. So a good bit of the forest tanks from Relic are going to shift to the north. They're going to close distance. A Bat Chat just getting absolutely annihilated by his opposite in the Bat Chat. Looks like Dusty Gator went in and cleaned Brown Bomber up there. He was just trying to be some passive lights in the one line, and he got caught out, isolated. They figured out he was alone and just jumped on him. That being said, second tank, one of the STBs is going down for went down for Relic. So the medium tank's down here doing a very good job at getting some shots, and Artie Shell goes out, not getting a reset. I'm expecting the other Artie to fire here pretty soon. The Object 140 is going to be the first one to go forward. This is what I was talking about needing lights. These mediums are in these trees and bushes, so he has not a whole lot of time to get some eyes. He's going to try to close. He's going to use this Corpse Brown Bomber. They're going to get the eyes, and they're going to get the resets. Meanwhile, the North tanks from Relic have pushed onto these E100s, got one of them, now got a second one, so they evened it back up 2-all. And 404 is already down by about 6,000 HP. Another tank goes down, and 404 have made all the tanks back off of this 2-cap. They know that they're not there. They know they don't have cap pressure on it. The only cap pressure is still coming from the 1-cap on the 1 line. Relic choosing to leave a couple tanks back there, and they're going to push forward and screen. And 404 just need to hurry up and be decisive. They're leaving their mediums over here to shoot at these mediums running away, which their guns aren't in the fight. They need to turn around and help out their heavy tanks and shoot these tanks pushing over. No one has a shot on a reset for the cap except for the artillery. Both of them are eyeballing it. It's going to be down to them to reset it. It's got 15 seconds left. I'm expecting them to fire here pretty soon. Meanwhile, one shot goes out, hits one of the tanks for a slight reset, but doesn't hit the tank with the majority of the cap points. Caps at 5 seconds. The heavy tanks are just getting cleaned up here by Relic. Relic just being very decisive, pushing through, excellent focus fire, knocking down all these tanks despite not having as much HP. And another artillery shot not going out towards cap. I'm not really sure what that was about. You know, killing tanks is absolutely not important if you lose the cap. Like, there's no point there. You might as well try to get the reset and give your chance a team at clawing back, or your chance giving your team a chance to claw back into there. Oh my god, I tripped that sentence up like 3 times. You need to buy your team time, get that reset. It's not looking good. You probably won't win it, but if they cap out, then your chance of winning goes to 0. Instead, it was at maybe like a 2% or a 1% chance to claw that back up. Instead, it just went to 0. You got to give yourself at least that 1% chance to win it. Do everything you can. Even if it's not looking likely, in my opinion.
I would agree.
So I like what Relic did there. To me, it was very readable. The problem with a strat like that is if the other team reads the map well and understands the meta of attack defend, they'll group up their forces and they'll push one of your overmatches. The tanks in the north could have been very easily isolated for Relic, and the Arties could have gotten the resets with only one tank lighting. So my biggest concern there for Relic is, if 404 get a little bit smarter, or if they play another team in a different week that, understands that, they're going to push into the north on the overmatch, get the 4 tanks for free, and, Relic would say, well, we can cap out. But with the artillery, it only takes 1 tank to light the cap, and they got 2 artillery that can cover that whole cap easily to get that reset. So you could pretty much defend that outside cap with 4 tanks essentially, 2 artilleries and 2 mediums for lights, and you could hold that cap for a good 2 or 3 minutes pretty easily without too much worry. So something for Relic to work out, look out for there. But 404 not seeing it, deciding to sit with their initial turtle and be real passive and try to bait the guns in for Relic just didn't work for them. Anything you saw there that I missed, Spanish?
I mean, it seemed to be pretty well played by Relic. Aside from that Batchat getting nuked basically right as soon as cap pressure started to happen, it seems like they went in there with a pretty concise game plan. And their plan was always to take that K line away, push up, push their lights back or their mediums back, and get onto the cap and make those heavies have to start poking for lights on the cap so that the artillery and other tanks will have a solid chance at reset. And while they did get reset, the amount that they forced 404 to shift around to get those lights effectively made it so that they can push in wherever they need to push in and get those kills.
Yeah, I agree. Just very overall decisive stuff out of Relic 404. The thing about setting up with a turtle like that is you don't want to ever stay in the turtle the whole time. You want to set up defensively, get an HP lead, and then make a decision on where you're going to go and exploit something at that point. It's more of a trap than a turtle. You got to wait for your right bait. If you turtle like they did and stay there the whole time, it can very easily go wrong if the other team is ready for it. That being said, we're into battle number 2. It is 1-0 in favor of Relic. 404 switching it up, going a lot more mobile this round, bringing 2 IS4s, 2 IS7s, double Bat Chat, a Leopard 1, 5 Object 140s, an Object 263, and once again bringing in Object 261. Meanwhile, Relic bringing a 50B, 3 E5s, 3 Bat Chats, 6 Object 140s, and an M53 55. So Relic deciding to keep it mobile. So even though they're defending, they are going to a much more mobile lineup. And oh my lord, this is going to turn into a bloodbath one way or another in about, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds. Both teams just choosing to go for the forest. And the ammo rack onto the 140 for 404. Another 140 getting absolutely caught out. Huge 2-tank lead for Relic right off the bat. 404 just not even assuming anything was going to be there and losing 2 tanks right off the bat. 404 doing a good job at trying to get some HP back. They've damaged 3 tanks. They, chipped out about another 2,000 in. But they need to be a bit more decisive right now. They're sitting here at a distance, letting these tanks run away. They got 1 tank. They finally get a tank in return, so not too bad. They kept HP just about even. Another tank's going to sit here and get focused out. The 140's gotten perma-tracked. I'm expecting another 2 shells. He got his repair already coming out, and the shooting not coming through here for 404. I guess you could say it wasn't found. Ha 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 ha. I'm funny. Anyways, the heavy tanks of 404 are just getting pinned into this town. Relic backed up all their mediums into the town, into cover, and they're sitting here just overmatching these 2 heavy tanks, and the mediums for 404 not coming around, completing that flank and leaving their teammates out to dry. So Relic's already taken a 5,000 HP lead just from killing those mediums. Very smart to use the buildings as cover and just focus on the stuff in there. And 404, too afraid to push into the guns of Relic to clean up these kills. So it started off like a very even game. Both teams getting some trades. Relic with that great opening ammo rack. But overall, 404 just not able to keep the pressure on. When you have an advantage like that, you have to keep the pressure on. 404 gave up the only advantage they have, which was the pressure. When you're in 404's position, where you understand that your overall player quality may not be the same as Relic, not to knock 404 or anything, but Relic are arguably a top 10 clan on the server still. Many would put them in the top 5. And when you're playing a clan like that, if you have an advantage, you cannot let up on it. You cannot give a team like Relic a chance to claw back into it. And 404 took their foot off the gas and just sat there shooting at things at a distance. If they had used their speed to keep pushing, keep the pressure on, at least if you keep a brawl going, you have a chance. And any team can brawl well with a little bit of practice and coordination and a good caller. As long as the players can make their shots count. When you play this more slow game of peeks and pokes, that'll all come down to who can, who's smarter, who can bait the shots out, not take the damage, and trade better distance. And those are the sort of games you want to avoid if you're 404, in my opinion.
And I forgot to update the score, so that's 2-0.
2-0 in favor of Relic. So that round, much more lopsided than the first. Some very good opening shooting out of Relic. That opening ammo rack, absolutely started them off on the right foot. 404 had a good response. They got a lot of shots off. They took, they evened the HP out after that opening volley they lost, but they didn't keep the pressure on. If they had stayed on Relic, kept the pressure up, they could have made that into a much more of a game than they did. And the one thing I got to point out here is, you got 2 of these Object 140s with 0 damage, not even firing a shot. So arguably one of them's the one that got ammo racked when he came over that hill, and the other's his buddy. And then you got the 2 heavy tanks, who both fired 2 shots each, only hit 1 and didn't pen either. So, the heavy tanks not being effective. They got really pinned. So that's 4 guns, that didn't do anything for 404. And if you look over at the other side, Relic's smallest amount of damage was, 1,100. So a very even spread damage out of Relic, which is what you want to see. You want to see, all the guns into the fight. And that's what that means when you have an even damage spread like that. Is Relic didn't have 1 or 2 people, doing all the damage or all the work. They had all their guns in the fight, all of them doing damage, and great teamwork and focus fire. There was no one person 1v1ing another tank or anything. It was all the guns. When they called out a target and there was someone to shoot, they all shot it. That's how they got that huge lead. Is they did double tap that first 140, because a 140 can't single shot ammo rack another 140. It doesn't have the alpha. But if the first shot hits the ammo rack and damages it, the second one could absolutely set it off. That's exactly what happened. Was 3 different guns shot that tank. One of the first shots hit the ammo rack, and the second one followed it up before he could repair it, and it blew that turret clean off. And that's just textbook focus fire. And then that second 140 pushed around, and he didn't have a shot.
That was a bad play. The initial getting ammo racked, you could argue that there's a little bit of bad play there, but it's also a little bit of luck. You could argue that Relic would have had enough shots to kill him anyway before the ammo rack had actually gone through. But pushing up on top of a hill is probably a bad plan, even if you're just going for a spot run. If you're just going to do that, you poke it and back down or something along those lines. It's impossible for them to know that there were that many tanks for Relic that were over there. It's very not, I guess, meta-like to play.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with that second 140. You see your teammate explode, and then you push the same corner. Even if you weren't up in the air, there's some thought process that needs to go in there. Telling you to stop.
When I was in Bronze League, like over a year ago now, Mervunka was introduced when they introduced Attack Defend, and one of our first times on this map that I distinctly remember is we were pushing Forest just like 404 that it did, and all our guns were spread apart. We all took separate routes, and the same thing happened there. The whole other team encountered us head on in the 8 line, and from that point on, we took going into that into that forest, I wouldn't say seriously, but we made sure that we were all together and we were all going the same direction and no one was isolated. So if we did find ourselves going head-to-head, we knew we weren't overmatched because all our guns were there and we could give ourselves a fighting chance. And then we'd spread apart from there. But when you leave yourself open like that to an overmatch, not only did they, they only had like half their tanks going there. I think it was 8 or 9 of their mediums pushing through that forest. They were all spread apart at different angles. None of them had the same shots on the same targets. And 2 of them pushed into positions where there was no escape, and they got punished for it.
But now we have Relic making an attack on the 3rd round. It's now 2-0 in the series, correct?
Yep, it is 2-0 in favor of Relic. Relic not changing anything up. They've gone for the exact same setup. Their only change is they're bringing the Gun Conqueror. So maybe, if you guys remember, in the first round, I talked about the arc not being enough to hit the tanks held in here. It's a really tight shot in a low arc RD like a 261. Gun Conqueror has the best arc of any RD in the game, except for its sibling tank, the 304, which has no range. The Gun Conqueror, being a tier 10, can hit almost anywhere in the map, and the shells basically come straight down. So there is nowhere safe from that Gun Conqueror. So 404 know this, and maybe 404 listened to what I said last time, but they're being a lot more decisive this round. They've pushed up. They've looked for this overmatch for the free tank. Brown Bomber sniffed that something was up early and was able to get out of there while only taking, it wasn't even Brown Bomber this time. It was Dusty Gator. He only took a couple shots of damage while running, so, lucky to get out of there. But now 404 don't really look like they know what they're doing. They've stalled out again. The whole, we're on defense thing. They're all kind of scattered right now. None of them are looking the same direction. Maybe looking for some intel. And all the tanks have come back from Relic. They're all going back to the north. So I'm expecting Relic to get all their tanks here and push over north and turn this into a big brawl. Good trade and bounce coming out of there. One of the 215Bs of 404. Getting a nice return shot on that IS-7. And the medium's choosing to rotate down south. My guess is what's going to happen is all these mediums are going to push down south here. They're going to come around the bottom corner of this 3 line, and they're going to force this overmatch onto these IS-7s where they know all these guns for 404 split. So keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, the heavies are going to hold this inside 3 line, probably try to start working towards cap and keep these heavy guns out of the fight so they know that their mediums don't get overmatched. So a lot of shots going out for both teams here, but not a whole lot of them landing. HP's staying with about a 3,000 HP lead for 404 right now. These tanks from Relic aren't getting off very many shots. These bat chats are backing off. I'm expecting one of these bat chats to jump onto this 2-cap here to get some more pressure. And 404 are going for the push right now. Their IS-7s are just going for it. They're going around that corner. They're trying to get this isolation on the C5, but they're not making his shots count. And this is exactly what Relic wanted. They wanted their team to slip up and to push around into all their guns, and Relic are just jumping on it. They're just wasting all these tanks. Another bat chat going down after killing that IS-7. Charles going for the ram onto the 140, but not getting it, but just shoots them and ends them anyways. All these mediums, it's just turning into a chaotic brawl, and damage being spread all over Relic. Relic did a good job at rotating their low HP and focusing fire. 140 comes over for 404, takes out a gun. He's going to circle, look for another shot, but he's going to get focused down. 3 shots hit him simultaneously, and 1 more comes in for the kill shot. The bat chats of Relic are going to push this kilo line and clean out this forest. The 140 hiding behind that building, get focused before he could get there. He lost half his HP. And now 404 is going to take the only overmatch they have left, and that's these 2 heavy tanks in the north. They're going to push their 4 onto these 2 and pray that they can kill them before the tanks in the south can rotate it, but they're not going to get there in time. All these tanks from Relic are going to shift back up, and they're going to end this overmatch that they had. And now it's going to be 404 that are overmatched. So, only a matter of time here. Relic had the positioning. Only up on HP by about 4k, and 404 has some very high HP tanks left. That being said, those tanks did have the HP here getting absolutely focused. Relic making sure that those are the first tanks to go down. They were able to get to them before they got to the other tanks, and the other guns can get them. And now the mediums are just going to flood over into this valley and clean this up. The last 215B is going to get rammed here. Oh, and I missed the ram and just shoot him. And that's going to be a 14-3 victory for Relic. So I liked the opening move out of 404 there. It was a bit better than the first round. They actually, had an idea outside of turtling. But then after that, they kind of, lost their ideas. They just didn't know what to do after that. And Relic, being as mobile as they were able to float around, find the weak flank, and take it. Relic weren't even going to push that to start. It was 404 that started that push, and in my opinion, they started that push before they were ready. They didn't understand how many of Relic's guns were on the other side of that hill, and they only pushed in with 3 tanks. And so when you push in 3 tanks into 8, it's not going to go well for you. So I don't think they read the map all that well, and Relic, just doing themselves good by putting themselves in a very strong position where they weren't taking damage, and all their guns worked together, and they waited for 404 to make a mistake. That's exactly what they did. They pushed on, and Relic had all their guns there, and they punished them for it. Anything that I'm missing there, Smash?
If I'm not mistaken, 404 did not bring artillery, correct? I'm looking through right now. No, it does not. When you do something like that, and the opposing team brings artillery, you have an advantage going into a fight right off the bat. So that's what they did. They went right off the bat. They have an advantage, so they sent a bunch of tanks up that, I think it's the 0 line, to get lights on the lighthouse is what we used to call it, that tower there. It's a good plan. Didn't seem like there was a plan thought out after that point. And when those IS-7s pushed around the north side of the spawn area cap, they actually they could have afforded to bring a lot more tanks than they actually had brought to that fight. If they had taken a little bit more time and brought like everything they had on the map, bring 13 tanks into that fight, even if that one tank that you left to spot gets overmatched and killed, you're losing 1 tank, and they're losing whatever they have over there, whether it's 3 or 4, and it's going to drop so quickly, they're not going to have time to respond. The artillery is probably loading, in all honesty, because with a 50-second reload, chances are he's still going to be loading by the time you drop those 3 tanks if you have 13 with you. Just being able to, even if you don't bring all 13, that's a little bit excessive, but you could bring, 4 or 5 more tanks, bring 7 tanks with you.
Yeah, be more decisive, bring more
Ensure
of a
that you
force.
make sure that you have the overmatch. If you're going to go into something like that, the lesson there is make sure you have an overmatch. You knew that you had superior amount of tanks based off of the fact that artillery is there. That means that you could bring an extra one or two elsewhere, and use that as a force in the fight rather than playing it passively or pushing in weak like they did.
Yep. So 404 for the first round tonight, dropping their artillery. So no, them going with just 14 guns on the field. Artillery obviously hasn't been working for them outside of that first round when they got the resets. And so while being on attack, there's deciding to be, bring more guns to get in there. 404 going with a 215B, 6 T110 E5s, and 7 Object 140s. Meanwhile, Relic going with a 50B, 3 T110 E5s, 3 Bat Chats, 6 Object 140s, and an Object 261. So Relic feeling comfortable with the artillery. And we will...
So while we're waiting for these teams to kind of figure out their positioning and figure out each other a bit, what do you think the reason is that all these teams are? Because I'm not as well versed in tier 10s as you are. What's the reasoning for them bringing 140s over something like a 62A?
So from what I know, I've played both, and excuse me one second, this 250B is going to find this open shot on this Bat Chat. He's going to see them, he's going to see a lot of tanks, he's going to be lucky to get out of here alive, see if 404 can focus him down. And the rest of the guns of 404 are just going to get, or Relic are going to get really aggressive on this hill and try to get some early damage, and these tanks are going to get caught out here. I'll get back to that point in a minute. Too much stuff going on to talk about it. These mediums, the Relic just focusing down, artillery coming in, dropping that T110 E5. And now the push is going to come out of 404. 404 is stacking up all their tanks onto this red line, and they're going to push in here, and they might get some good damage here. E5s are going to push up. They're going to isolate this single 140 isolated in the front. And now the mediums of Relic are going to do the opposite. They're going to push into this bull, and one of them getting focused down. So 140 going down for Relic, keeping the score 1-2. HP is still actually in favor of 404 by about 1,000 right now. Let's see if they can hold it. A lot of trades going out here from a distance, not a lot of shots landing. A lot of shots are on the move, low probability shots. And these heavy tanks are going to get in here, and they're going to leave a tank on cap. But he doesn't have cover, and I don't exactly know what he's planning to do. These E5s of 404 in the north have been left isolated, and these 4 mediums from Relic are just going to jump on the 4-on-2 overmatch. They're just going to focus down the first guy, and he's going to get wiped off the field. And soon to be his brother in that other E5. Meanwhile, 404 know that their 4 mediums are up there doing that, so they're going to push over onto the main group here and try to kill them while those guns are out of the fight. But the other 4 mediums of Relic pushed up north. They got that done so quickly, they're already back into the fight. So 404 taking a little bit too long there to take advantage of their other tanks going down. So a couple tanks low HP for Relic, a couple tanks low HP for 404. It's just who can clean up tanks better at this point. HP lead has gone about 4,000 favor into Relic. 404 getting wiped up, another tank going down, and another. It's only a matter of time before this one-shotter comes down. These mediums are going to pick him off, and they're going to keep this push. And this is just going to turn into cleanup for Relic here, about a 4K damage lead. Relic can comfortably trade this out. Relic aren't the type of players that are going to miss shots or, not have many miss, so they're fine just sitting here trading. They know they don't have to outplay them anymore. It just comes down to focusing fire and killing guns. 2 tanks left on the field for 404. 1 tank left, and he is a one-shotter, and he is going to run, but these mediums are all over this hill. They're going to find him, and I would guess a ram's coming up here. They're chasing him. He fires, and the Bat Chat goes for the ram instead of the shoot. Goes for the shooting instead of the ram.
So 404 round win not found on Muravanka.
Oh god, that was almost as bad as my joke earlier.
Yep, it had to be said though.
It had to be said.
All
right, we got a few minutes to until the next battle pops, so we can go ahead and talk about a few things here. So you asked mid-game about the Russian mediums. A lot of the veteran players already know the differences. To those newer, might not. So the basic rundown is this. The 140 and 62A have the same gun. The biggest difference is because of the tank design of the 140, it has slightly better gun depression. It also, the 140 also has goes about 5 miles an hour faster based upon top speed. So it brings a little bit more speed. The biggest reason you'd bring a 62A is for the turret. The turret of the 62A is the strongest of the Russian mediums these days. It did, when it got its HD buff, they always messed around with the armor layout a little bit and it got nerfed slightly. It's still better than the 140s. The 140 turret's kind of weak. But I don't think that anyone really counts on any medium armor bouncing anything unless you're in like a 50M or an STB hold down. You're just looking for the DPM, and the Russian mediums have some of the best DPM and most consistent of any of the mediums. And that just being consistent fire and mobile. You're a bit more mobile than a STB. You don't have the clip that the Bat Chat brings. And the Leos just don't even have comparable, or the German ones just don't even have comparable DPM, damage per minute. They're better at range. The Germans are a little bit better at range. We saw Leo one earlier, but they're not good brawling tanks. They are damage farming tanks essentially. They're great pub tanks where you can play off your teammates, wait till they engage and get damage from range. Very accurate. They hit hard for a medium, but they don't bring a lot of DPM, so you don't want to go one-on-one with them because your armor is so soft in that Leo, you're not going to bounce anything. And the E50M, your turret is, well, it's armor-wise, it's thick and it's slow. It's flat, and heat shells that get fired by the Russian mediums will dice that up without much effort. So they, that's why you see the 140s the most. Any other questions that you're dying to answer or have answers to?
Nope, I think I'm good. I was just curious because I expected to see at least like a mix of 140s to 62As.
So the biggest thing is, I think in league play coming up here, for those who don't know, they announced that the Wargaming League switching to tier 10. I think we'll see a bit more T62As because the league format caters a bit more to individual skill. It becomes more important when you have less guns on the field. And 62As are good brawling tanks. When
And
you're trying to wolf, so the biggest difference between the two formats is when you're trying to wolf pack, the 140s obviously can move faster and they have the better gun depression. The guns are the same, so they'll use those because they can all stick together. You don't want to have a bunch of tanks that are a little bit slower and some faster because there's just too much effort to like coordinate it all. I mean, you can, but
the HP pool is significantly smaller in 7 versus 7
yeah,
rather
well,
than
exactly.
14. So anything that you could potentially bounce might be worth it over DPM.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of players do like their 62A over for the 140 individually just because the armor is more workable. And they're better brawling tanks. So one-on-one, or in a smaller 7-on-7, where you're put off in situations by yourself, you want to feel comfortable by yourself, where you can work your tank and you feel like you're gonna have the best shot of winning. Yeah, and so I have a feeling we'll see more 62As when it comes to that. And here they're just going for outright brawls. The tanks are faster. The 140s also have the better gun depression. So playing the hills of Mervanka, you want that extra little bit because the 62As have to commit way too much. Their turrets aren't really a factor in that type of fight.
Makes sense.
So, if you want to go ahead and put up a 10-minute timer, our next battle isn't even up here.
Yeah.
My guess will be up in a little bit. So we'll put up a 10-minute timer, folks. We'll have at least one more battle for you here in a minute. The map going into is Siegfried Line for the next set of battles. Relic are already on match point though, so they just have to win one more. If they do that, the series is over, and another win for Relic. So we will have to see. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just a minute away from the fifth and what could be final battle starting for the night. Relic putting on a very dominant display versus 404. 404 just not having any of the answers. Answers not found, I guess. Sorry, couldn't help it. Too easy. So the battle will be up here in just a minute. So a couple things I just wanted to address chat. A couple of you were shocked that the WGL was switching to tier 10. There's a post on that on the main World of Tanks portal, so go ahead and check that out. The short version is the league switching to tier 10. They haven't announced final format changes yet. They're debating between 768 and 770. So, 7 tanks and 68 tier points, kind of like 754, just at tier 10. So you get your 5 tier 10s and 2 tier 9s, or you get 6 tier 10s and a tier 8. Or 770, where it's just going to be 7 tier 10 tanks with some restrictions as far as no duplicates or stuff like that. They haven't decided that yet. We should get an announcement on it in the next couple of weeks. But no official date or timeline has been put forward to us at this point, or we would tell you guys. The other thing is someone claimed that we were biased casters. I promise you this is not the case. I may have friends in a lot of these clans, but I have no alliances or allegiances with any of these one clans. I don't hate or dislike anyone more than any of the others. I'm just calling what I see. When a team goes up 4-0, it is hard not to,
Sound
you know,
biased.
sound biased. If the team did
Rest
something
assured,
positive,
I hate them all equally.
yeah, if the other team did something that I could praise, I would absolutely do it. And I try to give credit where credit is due. But when you're 4-0 down and the fights being put up are not necessarily the greatest, there's not a whole lot I can do as a caster. So promise you, not bias. So that being said, we are into, like I said, what could be our fifth and final battle. We are on to Muravanka, and 404 is going to be defending first. So 404 bringing 4 E100s, a 215B, an IS4, double T110E5, a Batchat, 4 Object 140s, and a Gun Conqueror. Relic bringing 3 215Bs, 3 IS7s, a T57, an E50M, 5 Object 140s, and a Gun Conqueror for themselves. So interesting tank choices coming out of Relic, bringing that 57 and E50M. Both of those have comparable other tanks that could be brought, which I am relatively sure they also have on their garages. E50M maybe being brought to play field and play that distance sniping game. Maybe they want to put him out on that red line where he can get good shots from distance. That would be one of the few strong points where that E50M would succeed, or vice versa, because they're bringing them into this 5 line here. So maybe he is to help cover these mediums out in the field. Good, accurate distance gun. Maybe that's what they're going for. The Russian medium guns aren't too much worse as far as accuracy goes, so I'm not really sure what the idea is there. We'll have to see. And then the 57 we touched on earlier. They don't really have a place in competitive play too much outside of, Himmelsdorf. Himmelsdorf, you're going to see a lot of E100 turrets, and the heat shells do just fine versus those turrets. A lot of shots going out here on this bat chat early. I'll get back to the point in a second. And these 140s are just going to go up and over, and they're just going to clean out this bat chat. They don't care about the other guns shooting at them. They're going to get the kills for free, and they're just going to move on. And these 140s are going to find these Russian mediums up here in the north, and these relic guns either need to get over into the low ground here, or they need to pull back. And it looks like they're just going to try to finish off this flank, focus these tanks down, and get cap pressure going. And we'll have to see if 404 can respond. They need to kill out this flank and then focus on getting those cap resets. But they're just not able to kill these Russian tanks of Relic very well. Doing a good job at rotating HP. The low health Relic tanks dropping back. The 215B finds a shot on him, but no one else has a kill shot yet. The other Relic tanks are looking to simp for him. They're trying to pull in front of him, but missing. Now this 140 is going to back up against this red line and be hard cover, and they're going to try to share HP, keep the tanks alive for a bit. And 404 already down 3 tanks. Caps on. Caps at 6 seconds. No resets are coming out. It's all going to be down to Artie. And the base is going to be captured. And just like that, 5-0 in favor of Relic.
It has to be said, 404 base resets not found.
Oh, Lordy. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for us today. Relic just showing their dominance against 404. 404 just not having the answers to Relic strats. Really hard not to go with this 404 joke not found right now, but
I mean, if it went the opposite way, even if they 5-1 or 5-0 Relic, 404 jokes still would be happening, just the opposite
Yeah.
way. So they just named
Yeah.
themselves something that's fun to joke about.
Yep. So, and if Relic was, the one losing this like that, I would be coming down on Relic so much harder just because you expect so much more out of a clan
Right.
like Relic with their experience. It's hard not to judge. So, that being said, we are all done for tonight, guys. We will be back next week. We are bringing you matches on 3 different days next week. We have Challengers League again on Monday and Wednesday, and then we'll be bringing you guys the Champions matches on Thursday. More Gaming's still going to be bringing you some of the matches on Tuesday, but they have opened up the Thursday matches to us casters, so we will be bringing you more Champions League matches this next Thursday. So, that being said, follow our Twitter for updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel for replays, and follow our Twitch channel so you know when we go live. That's all for me. Spanish, you have any closing words?
No, I don't.
Nope.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next Monday.